Almost on a daily basis, we hear examples of IT hacking, phishing emails, denial of service attacks, ransomware. Today, we're talking to a rapidly growing managed service provider and cybersecurity shop, and we're going to get a hacker show and tell. All this coming up on Techopia Live. Hello, I'm Michael Curran from the Ottawa Business Journal. Welcome to Techopia Live. This is a regular podcast from OBJ that interviews business leaders from Ottawa's tech ecosystem. Our mission is to create a deeper level of understanding for what's happening in Ottawa, to explore issues that are common to local tech companies, and to help level up Ottawa's tech sector. Thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying the podcast, please share it with a friend to expand our Techopia community. Ottawa's tech sector is chock full of stories from people who were born elsewhere, immigrated to Canada, and then made it big. In fact, think no further than Ottawa's tech origin story with Terry Matthews and Michael Copeland, famous example of that. But there are dozens of stories of people coming to Ottawa and finding business success. Today, we've got a similar story with some unique elements to it. One of the unique elements for us here at Techopia is the fact that we're talking often about SaaS or telecom or hardware or recently some type of consumer tech. But today we're going to explore a technology services company. We often don't speak to these types of company and figure out its founder's backstory, his trends, his take on trends in MSPs. And we'll end up, listen to this, with a little hacker show and tell that's coming up in our final segment today. All right, so let's welcome our guest now. Here is the founder and CEO of CapitalTek. Please welcome Sergey Poltev. Hello, Sergey.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
It's great. It's great to see you. We bump into each other all the time. And we've said for, I don't know, is it months or years that we got to do an episode of Techopia Live with you, Sergey?
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So take a moment, if you don't mind, Sergey, and introduce yourself for the audience.
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Sergey Poltev. So I've been in Ottawa resident for 20 years and in a tech field. I moved here from Russia 20 years ago, immigrated. So technology has been always part of my life. I've been always saying that I started my career when I was just 12 years old. When I started my first kind of encounter with computers, when my father passed away, unfortunately, at a young age, my mom bought me a computer, which opened the whole world to me, and that's how I started, my company. And now I'm running an IT business here in Ottawa. We're protecting people from cybersecurity, and I also very passionate about this topic. I wrote a book called Hack Proof, which is available on Amazon, and it became actually Amazon bestseller.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We should also point out, Sergey, that you were a OBJ Ottawa Board of Trade 40 under 40 recipient in 2024. Yeah, and some other awards. We'll talk about those in a few minutes. But I want to bring you back to that origin story in Russia, Sergey. It's fascinating. I heard you say a minute ago that your passion for computers started when you were 12 years old. And I think you explained to me before that you started ripping apart a computer and kind of got really interested. When you were only 18 in Russia, you opened up an internet cafe with a couple of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that early entrepreneurial experience.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. So yes, as I always, like, my family wasn't really, didn't have enough money. So I at the early age decided to, stand up for myself and become an entrepreneur. At the age of 18, you can actually get a business license and actually, open some kind of business in Russia at that time. And my teenage friends, we started kind of an enterprise together. I was their IT guru, so I've built all computers from scratch, and we had the tech business going at the age of 18. And essentially, it's like an internet cafe or a gaming cafe where people were paying money to use the computers. But unfortunately, business at that time in Russia, that was beginning of 90s. 90 at the 90s, I had an encounter with Russian mafia. Basically, the business doing business in Russia was really tough at that time, per se. And Yeah, so essentially, I decided to made enough money to buy myself a ticket to North America. I went to United States. And That's where I actually my first Apple computer, and my journey just went from there as well.
It's fascinating, and you found yourself to Ottawa. I think we heard you say before it's your 20th anniversary
Yes.
of being in the city and starting CapitalTek. Why did you pick Ottawa? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, there was like a trade show per se in Russia where you would go, and there was some international, companies where you can actually go abroad. I did wanted to go United States in the beginning, but after 9/11 was really hard to actually go to United States. And then I looked at the map, I found Canada, and when I was at this trade show, they were like promoting Canada, and I'm like, okay, great. And I only got two options at that time, Winnipeg or Ottawa. So I, given that I'm from Russia, it doesn't really mean that I love cold.
Yeah.
And I thought I'll pick Ottawa. However, as we know, Ottawa has it's a cold area as well, cold time of the year as well.
You
So
got it. Yeah. And I should point out you're proudly wearing the Canadian flag on your
yeah,
chest there. So we appreciate that, given everything that's happening in the world, Sergey.
yeah.
So, Sergey, as I indicated in the intro, we often talk to software companies or hardware companies or consumer tech, but we don't often talk about, a really important segment of the local technology community, the segment that keeps all of our computers and servers and all of this functional for all of our offices. I'm talking about managed service providers. So these companies exist in Ottawa for many decades. But it seems to me there's been a real moment here over the past few years where there's been big consolidation. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ottawa is actually a big hotspot for managed IT companies, and largely due to the presence of federal government and lots of non-for-profits. And our industry is kind of not regulated, so there's a lot of tech companies. I always joke, somebody who can fix the computers that can start an IT business overnight. But It's really big commodity nowadays, and we're looking at big consolidation happening. A lot of companies trying to acquire each other. A lot of consolidation happening from other provinces and from United States and even Europe. They basically it's a big number of companies, and we're all dealing with the recurrent revenue. We have a good solid client list of clients. Think about insurance companies. It's similar idea with IT service providers.
And like all sectors of technology, there's probably waves. So if I were to think way back when, a managed service providers might have been working on a server in a closet, and then maybe we went through the VoIP phones, and then we went through cloud computing. It seems to me when I think of MSPs now, one of the main things that they're talking about is cybersecurity. We're going to have a whole hacker show and tell, but is that kind of the trend in MSPs?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, MSP stands for Managed Service Provider, for those who don't know. And now it's a big trend happening we're adding another S, Managed Cybersecurity Service Provider or Managed Security Service Provider. So yes, essentially the whole aspect of IT companies, like I started as a break fix computer guy, fixing computers back in Russia, then moved to Canada. That's what I was still doing. But then we realized that their actual need for IT companies is to protect companies from hackers and scams and things like that. So, and there's huge ecosystem of software SaaS applications to help MSPs. There's a lot of vendors. We're estimating 700 cybersecurity companies just for use, for IT, like vendors like ourselves. And it just is a big trend nowadays. And yes, we'll we'll talk more about cybersecurity because this is my favorite topic.
That's your passion. So listen,
Yeah.
we're off to a great start. Sergey, we're going to pause our conversation for a moment to recognize the sponsor of this episode. Here is Pearlie Robertson, Hill and McDougall.
Tech companies move at the speed of light, and they need a law firm that moves just as fast. Pearlie Robertson, Hill and McDougall solves tech companies' most challenging legal matters. As Ottawa's largest independent full-service law firm, Pearlie Robertson, Hill and McDougall has provided specialized legal services for over half a century. Pearlie Robertson, Hill and McDougall advises tech companies in all legal matters important to fast-moving companies. That includes financing strategies, venture capital raises, private placements, public offerings, M&A, IP, shareholder agreements, stock options, and more. To learn more about Pearlie Robertson, Hill and McDougall, please visit perlaw.ca.
Thanks to our friends at Pearlie Robertson, Hill and McDougall for their continued support of Techopia Live. We're back talking with Sergey Poltev, the founder and CEO of CapitalTek. Sergey, we were just talking about how kind of the IT services industry was been commoditized, and yet you have this thriving business called CapitalTek. So tell me how you've been able to survive and differentiate yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we've been in business for 17 years now already. And I think it comes down to really be unique. Like given the fact that I came from Russia, and as you know, I don't know if you know the statistics, Russia and Ukraine, for example, those are the two top countries for cyber activities. That's where these cyber attacks are originated from. So the fact that I was actually born there and lived during the time when everything's kind of started. Like I always joke that Russia invented the need for cybersecurity. So I actually got to know everything. I learned. I studied computer science, and I got myself really into this subject matter of cybersecurity, and actually, like I knew how to do it on the other side. So now my company really differentiates by easy, simple cybersecurity turnkey solution. A lot of companies trying to complicate things. We're really focusing on education, one-stop shop for like everything you need in terms of cybersecurity compliance, and it's really also kind of a holistic approach. So we're not just doing cybersecurity. We're modernizing every business to make sure that they're up to the current standards. We're educating them about cybersecurity insurance requirements and government security requirements. So it really, at the end of the day, is making security easy, easy and simple. That's how we've been differentiating for the last 17 years.
Yeah, one other quick question on your business model. From what I understand, you've simplified that as well. So it's like down to a subscription program. It's not, we need to do a big consulting job on this, and so you just kind of boil it all down to a monthly fee. Is that
Absolutely,
how it works?
yeah. So yeah, if you think about us as more like a SaaS company, but we're definitely using a number of software applications to help us with this our offer. We call it Shield. So when we come to a company, we just need to know how many users they have, how many employees they have. We're typically working with the companies between 10 and 50 employees, and this is where we find the biggest need for our service. The companies still don't have a proper IT setup. They're already large enough to be targeted by hackers. There's enough people in the organization who can make a terrible mistake. This is our market, and we strongly going after it.
Okay, that's awesome. Listen, when we were planning this, one of the things that got me excited about this episode is a hacker show and tell. So this is something you do to business groups. You give some talks in Ottawa, but take it away. Let's. What's the first item, I guess, on our hacker show and tell?
A lot of people asking me to show them, and cybersecurity is not tangible, right? So you can't really touch it. However, we made it really tangible. So there are numerous devices that hackers use, both physical and digital, and I like to show people physical devices that hackers use. So, for example, this is called Flipper Zero, It's a mini computer. It's pretty heavy, but it's very tiny. Designed to be a portable device to use by people who can read anything that's kind of produces wireless signal. So think about your wallet. You have credit cards in there, so you can just tap it to your wallet, and this device can read all your credit card information. You can also use this for reading a garage door and be able to open garage door or unlock the car. As we know, Ottawa has actually been a big threat for car theft. Last year, almost 3,000 cars in Ottawa was stolen, and mainly due to these devices. So hope I didn't scare you that much.
They're effectively illegal, but you're saying you can still access them.
Oh, absolutely. It's so easy. I was able to get it in 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me show you a couple of other things. So this was just a regular USB stick. I'm going to bring it up. It's like USB-C, USB. So it looks like a regular USB stick. However, inside of it, there's actually a computer. It's a microcomputer that can be used to program any basically command. So as soon as you put this into the computer, there's a command that could, for example, send all your passwords from Chrome to or all your keyboard strokes, everything could be sent to intruder. And typically hackers use these by putting them everywhere. So washrooms and other things. So be careful.
Leave them on LRT, leave them in a university or a common space in a big office building. Okay.
We also see a lot of network activity. So I often come to clients and they don't even have a proper Wi-Fi security or pretty much open networks. But even if there's a security on the wireless, you can use a device like this, which is called Pineapple Mark 7, which is essentially, it's the mini computer with a lot of strong antennas. And typically we would put it in the car or on the drone, and you work around the building. You just drive around the building or fly around the building. And it basically collects all the wireless networks and trying to crack them and puts them in a single file. Which after that, hackers can just basically log into your network and access resources like servers, workstations, printers, things like that.
It's not good. You're freaking me out.
I know. Well, if you have another minute, I'll show you this
please.
one. This is a regular phone cord, phone charging cord for iPhone, but you can see you can have the same one for Android. And it comes with USB-C or USB. And again, in the tip of this cord, it's a microcomputer. Computers are so small nowadays. So essentially, it's the same thing as this guy, but here. And in fact, this can actually now connect directly to the phone. So the phones are also vulnerable, especially Android phones. And essentially, many people finding these at conferences. Again, LRT station. Be careful what you use, and because this is basically transferring data away and has Wi-Fi built in. And
I completely see how that would work too. Everyone's always losing their power cord, so you find one, you're like, oh my god, I found a power cord. Thank God, I'm gonna plug in my phone and get it charged up here. And as you said, as soon as you plug in, it's like executing like an EXE type execution, and now it's some sort of software virus is operating on your computer or phone.
But if I might add, the devices are great to show, and I have dozens of these devices. You haven't seen the hacker's phone yet, but we'll leave it for the next time, some point. I think the most important thing to understand, hackers use people as an attack vectors. So 90% of cyber attacks happens because of people. In fact, the fact that people actually using these to putting in their phones already, they're making mistakes. But majority of cyber attacks happens through email, and people are the ones who are actually making the mistake. But I truly believe that if you actually, we need to reverse that problem. People should be the solution to this issue. If we educate them enough and actually put together, the training programs for every organizations. Even starting with just my book, Hack Proof, it's already going to be a big a plus for organizations. But I found that Canadian companies only put on average $200 per employee per year for entire education, and it's not enough. It's not enough. That includes cybersecurity education, not alone, let alone other skills that people need to know nowadays. So.
And if someone is watching, Sergey, and they're wondering, hey, I'm freaked out, I've seen all these devices you just showed, Sergey, where can I go on the internet to determine whether I've been hacked or not?
Yeah, it's a very good question. This is what I've been asked all the time. In fact, because of this, we've created a small free tool, and it's a 60-second kind of IT assessment. It's called hackproofscore.com. My book called Hackproof, and so the assessment called Hackproof Score. Very, very simple. You just need to put your domain name in there, in this, nothing else. And if, after 60 seconds, you will be generated like 4-page document that will allow you to see if your emails are protected, if your website's protected. And this is the most important vector, is the email. So I would definitely start from there. And if somebody needs more information, obviously reach out to us. I will do a thorough examination of your IT and cybersecurity.
Sergey, I can't believe it. We come to the end of the episode. It seems like we started 10 seconds ago, but must be because I enjoyed the conversation so much. And before we wrap up, Sergey, it's time for our Building a Better Working World segment, brought to you by our friends at EY.
All right. So for me, what's important is actually trust, transparency, and empathy. And I'm also passionate about building remote first distributed workforce network. So hoping this will be a better be an example of being a better working world for you guys. Thank you.
It is a better working world, distributed remote work. That sounds very appropriate for today's world, Sergey. Listen, I want to thank you. Like I said, in the blink of an eye, we've run out of time here. Must mean we enjoyed ourselves. If people want more information, Sergey, CapitalTek.com. Do I get that right?
CapitalTek.com. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Find me on LinkedIn if you ever want speak one-on-one with a hacker. I call myself a friendly hacker, so there's nothing to worry about. And just reach out to me for any questions, or reach out to us at CapitalTek.com.
Okay. Great, Sergey. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hope to see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thanks very much for Sergey Poltev from CapitalTek for joining us today. Let's take a look at some of the other great companies that champion Techopia.
Techopia is brought to you by many great sponsors, such as EY, Building a Better Working World; Perley Robertson Hill and McDougall, a leader in business and technology sector law; the University of Ottawa Faculty of Engineering, creating the next generation of technical talent. Techopia is not only a podcast, we post new articles daily at obj.ca/Techopia. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe and click the bell icon.
All right, before we wrap up, thanks again to Sergey Poltev from CapitalTek for being the guest on today's show. I want to thank you for watching and or listening. We hope Techopia is keeping you informed and connected. Let's keep building Ottawa's technology utopia. That is Techopia. Bye-bye. See you soon.